And as you make a note of the picture, just have that conversation with yourself about why. Why did I pick that one? Why was I drawn to that one when I think of focus? And that's very often one of the biggest obstacles for people who are trying to focus, is that actually they become over-analytical on the horse, paralysis from analysis. They focus too much, or we focus too much on the technical aspects, and we end up fiddling with opposition, fiddling with reins, and then it all starts to go backwards rather quickly, or can do. Are you a perfectionist? Okay. So for perfectionists, it is a typical tendency. Yeah. And so it wouldn't surprise me that that goal sort of language, comes out for you quite quickly. And this curiosity is a really healthy place to be with any aspect of mental training. The more we can be curious about how our minds are working, the more we will ask questions of ourselves, learn and understand about ourselves, and that always gives us choice. To pay attention, more attention to that because it's a strength, or less attention to it because it's perhaps over-dominant. Super. So a little bit later when we start looking at techniques to help us focus, certainly Sarah will look at techniques around when your focus is too broad, how do you bring it in? When it's too narrow, how do you take it out? And then also for yourself, Millie, it'd be very useful to think about how you can use parts of the horse to help you focus or refocus. We're talking about boring things. I'm just not in the room. My mind is elsewhere doing other things. Now, why is that dangerous when we're on a horse?
Because the horse lives in the present moment.
Yeah. We're on the back of a moving thing. And we're on the back of a moving object that has his or her own intention, mind, quite capable of changing direction suddenly without giving us much signal, much notice. And horses, exactly right, Sarah, only are in the present. They're not thinking about what they had for breakfast or what happened yesterday or what's the weather going to be like tomorrow. Well, we don't think they are, we don't really know, but we assume they're not. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They're quite simplistic people. They're here and now, looking and focusing and responding to whatever's happening here and now. So very often for riders, the disconnect, as soon as we get on, is they're here and now present, and we aren't. We're anywhere except present. And so already just watching you explain that, there's a lot of movement with your hands, there's a lot of almost demonstrating focus, this sort of channeling in and tunneling in and really getting to the point and the essence, so that for you, very similar to with Sarah, what's happening here, what's the activity, what's the goal, what's the purpose. So with your trainers, for example, for you two ladies, make sure that when you're working with your riding trainers that you've got very clear understanding of each other's goals, that you're able to say, my goal in this lesson, my objective, my purpose is...
4 caught me because of the vitality and the movement and 5 caught me because of the peace and tranquility. They're two such opposing ideas as far as I was concerned. Those two were the ones that grabbed me.
And isn't that a lovely...
The dynamic thing as opposed to the peace.
And isn't that a lovely explanation of the contradiction of focus when we think about riding? We want that inner calmness of ourselves, and we want a calm horse and a responsive, obedient horse. But we also know there's quite a lot of stuff that has to happen. There's a lot of activity and energy, and vitality was your word, that's required in that partnership to have impulsion, to have engagement, to have the horse going upwards and forwards, whether he's on the flat and dressage or actually leaping over fences. And we, of course, have to be in tune and in balance and in synchronicity with his movement or her movement. So it's very much about that energy.